Shouts out Big Steve.
Shout out Michael Bisbin. Welcome, friends. Welcome to the Early Tease. We look at early betting odds for the upcoming UFC card and regional promotions. I'm Big Steve. This is the 7th year betting, 180k profit all up. Not the best year this year, although we are only getting started. All right, nice and early. It will be the 7th profitable year in a row. How profitable? Well, that remains to be seen. There's no UFC this week, so this is super early edition for UFC Kansas in 2 weeks' time. Plus, we do have PFL odds for this week that I will crack into. First of all, PFL has been good to me. I have been both disciplined and aggressive, made money on both cards, so I'm looking to keep that going, especially with no UFC. Let's get cracked into the recap, right? There was a few regionals, see how much money was made and what could be done better. All right. Don't want to waste too much of your time. So let's start off with a bet that wasn't even made, ACA, one of my worst promotions last year. I only started betting it last year, and I barely give it any notice anymore. I don't want to waste my time on promotions that I don't have great reads on. But I'm also not a quitter, so pretty much Alex Machno versus Adam Domakovsky. Domakovsky was plus 140 favorite underdog, the co-main event, and he knocked this guy Alexei out before. And I faded Alexei twice in ACA, and I've lost. And he's a massive bum. He's been knocked out like 14 times. And this Artem guy was 40, and he's basically lost 4 out of his last 5. And I'm like, man, I've lost these kind of bets before. The underdog should win, has a KO upside, but he's fighting a 40-year-old washed Russian guy. And, it seems like maybe Alexei could win this rematch. I pass, ends up being pick'em. Tom knocks him out in round 1. So a bit of a lesson in, not being scared. But I thought that was interesting, right? So I didn't even bet that, but I just thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a story background. We go on to 1FC. So we don't even get one fight odds on this. It's one Friday fights, right? I had it once on Neds in Australia, and it was on Bolt. Bet online, right? Pretty much 2 MMA fights. Tezuka Misoguchi, Ezekiel Isiduru, 2 young Asians making a debut. Tezuka is a striker, hasn't fought in 2 years, had some good power. I'm like, this kid's good. And this Isidoro is a grappler. He was 2-0, and he's just grappling dudes on the Filipino regional scene. I'm like, man, honestly, the vibe, the Japanese guy seems much better, has KO upside, and he was a $3.60 underdog. Right, I bet $300 to win 600 and something. Then the noise and the fact that more money came in on the favorite scared me a little bit. I'm like, what? Does this Filipino guy have some hype? Or what's the go? They both fought nobodies. So I reduced to win 360, $100 over half a unit. And he won round 1 KO. So, I won. I'm happy to win on regionals with like 10 minutes of tape. Could have been better though. All right, let's move to PFL. As I said, quite good to me. 2 weeks in a row profiting. This card was much worse in terms of, females, a lot of Bellator fighters, and that's pretty much it, females. Bantamweights are usually good, but I didn't really like these bantamweight fights personally myself. So let's get into it, right? Elora Dana versus Diana, the Russian. I like this chick ASAP. She's not that great on tape. But man, Diana, massive split decision merchant. Even against the 2-2, she barely loses a split. She lost her last fight to Justine Kish. Throws nothing. This Dana girl actually got dropped. I bet her $1.40. I wasn't sure if I wanted the under at $2.60 or her money line. In that case, I always pick the money line just in case Dana won a decision. She took it down, submitted a easy peasy plus 140. Should have done half a unit on the money line, half a unit on the under, cash both, but I'm happy with that. We move on to Jana Bishop versus Kana Watanabe. Nothing there. Nothing on Jake Hadley Matos. A lot of people played Matos. My read was to pass. Donated $50 on Juliana Velasquez KO. She got finished. The under was big plus money. That should have been the play. And there'll be another fight as well. Pass on this. Pass on this. Donated another $50 or $20 on Liz Carmouche. We're round 3 sub. She gets a round 1 KO over Ilara Joanne. So both these unders were big money, big plus money, and you could have just gone Liz Carmouche inside the distance. But I was just being greedy. I didn't want to risk half a unit on a female fight to finish, right? So maybe there's a lesson in that. Lost about $70 poking both those plays. And then we got to Murray Clay Alves versus Leandro Higo. And I kind of liked Alves at slight plus money. The kid is young. I bet him before against Hodge. Got a round 1 KO. He has some dodgy split and submission losses. So, Leandro Higo just spamming guillotines and rear naked chokes. So it makes sense why he was the favorite. It was a big step up in terms of name value for Alves. But he went up to $3. Someone steamed Higo, and I'm like 25 versus a 36-year-old. Higo's just been fighting grapplers, barely fights any good strikers. Last time he fought a good striker, Pico knocked him out in round 1. Bet Alves, I bet him to win a unit, a little bit over half a unit, and that was sweaty. But happy with that, Got $1,000, 700 and something dollars on PFL, 1.5 units. Again, had no bets pre, was just kind of taping till last minute, waiting for the lines to shift. Got the best possible line on Dana, the best possible line on Alves. So really happy with that. Live betting was really tough. I didn't have a good stream, so yeah. Over $1,000 with one and PFL. So we're going to LFA. Again, not my favorite promotion once again. You're taping all these fights, and I've been burnt on under 1.5s in LFA so many times. If people know me, I consider myself elite at betting under 1.5 rounds, but I've been burnt. And then you got like this Steve Asplund under. I like that. He barely hits. I like this Adam Beagle fight, but I passed. I thought it'd be more grappling. But I also like the Alvin Hayes under, and I passed, and I went to round 3. But what I did play, my one and only bet in the main event, I played the under 2.5 rounds at $2.40. It was $2.70 2 fights before. Someone hit it. I was like, damn, what am I waiting for? I also liked John Paul when he was plus 140. And obviously the line came down to pretty much pick him, slight dog money for John Paul. I didn't like that if it extended. I faded John Paul with Jacoby Jones. The kid he's good, but still makes mistakes, and he's hittable, and he pulls guard. I didn't know if he was going to show good takedown defense here. So I thought if he's going to win, he's probably going to be the first person to finish Keegan. I thought he could knock him out. Keegan was hurt with a head kick on regionals, and John Paul has great head kicks. And yeah, I thought that correlates with John Paul. And yeah, John Paul hurt him multiple times and then submitted him with a triangle. So won another $330 there. So, $1,300 from the regionals. Can't complain, right? Doing well. Nothing better than going into UFC with already big profit secured, and then you just have to make sure you don't ruin that. We've got some comments. Evan, top of the morning. Hello, Evan. Simon interests him. Yeah, a lot of chat. We'll get to the UFC soon enough. Soon enough, Evan. Thank you for commenting, my friend. Just had Evan on the show, really sharp guy. I was a bit nervous about his slate on the pay-per-view. He had a lot of underdogs, a lot of go distances, unfavorable go distances, and the man pulled through, still made 2 units. So good on him. The man is firing on all cylinders. Alrighty, so the UFC, speaking of which, didn't go in with many bets, right? It was a tough card for me to get strong reads, maybe because I focused on regionals a lot, but I had a lot of profit to save. So Marco Tulio, Treyshawn Gore. I called this fight to T. I said, I have the under on Marcos Tulio. He's cost me before by getting a knockout 10 seconds over the under. And I said, I'm going to add another half unit on Tulio rounds 1 and 2. So that doesn't happen. I didn't do that. The under looks massive value. He knocks him out 40 seconds after. I'm a little bit tilted already. Too early to be tilted, but I'm like, when you read the fight so well, I also wanted to play Tulio KO plus money. I wanted to play Tulio in a parlay piece. There wasn't many parlay. I don't usually parlay recently, but so I'm like a little bit annoyed, Then I had a much bigger bet on the Mikhail Lazenchik under 1.5 rounds, right? It was just under a unit to win a unit. He was barely plus money. People were telling me Dumas, he looks pretty durable. He only lost via KO because of the eye poke. And, he might grapple Mikhail, kill the clock a bit. But when I taped it, I had a strong gut feeling. And when I saw the weigh-ins, how same size Mikhail is, usually Dumas is towering over people. I was like, man, this is a levels fight. Mikhail can knock you out with one punch, knock you out to the liver, and he can break you with pressure in 1 round, in 5 minutes. That's how aggressive he is. And I loved it. I loved that play. And then straight away the next day I woke up and all the noise that I received from people, I'm not so sure about your under, just made me cash out, especially when I lost Tulio. I was like, man, if I lose Mikhail as well now, that's $750 down, It's like half my profit that I made on regional. So obviously that hit. So here I am, miss a really good value under on Tulio by 40 seconds, and then I cash out an amazing under on Mikal, one punch, and still half a unit down, right? But it's all right. Went to my friends. I was having a good time, having some drinks. I was like, I'm going to enjoy this day no matter what. Put $50 on Julian Rosa KO. I watched his interview, right? And I'm like, you know what? Julian Rosas ran through people in round one. He's knocked out so many good fighters. Nate the Train. I know Elkins is, just can't be KO'd no matter how bloody he gets, but Julian should really knock him out, right? I watched his interview. He says, I'm not stupid. This guy seems really hard to guillotine. I'm not going to waste my time. KO one or two. I ended up putting only $50 on it. I was very, I didn't want to risk too much, but that looked massive value. $3.50. All right, so I make a little bit, $100 back, and nothing on the Chase Super fight. I like the over 1.5 rounds, value, I guess, but you never know with Drew Miller. But no, Genjaroba. I wanted to play a full unit on this. I pansied out. I played same game parlay. Werner, one takedown, starts round two, win by sub decision. Got me plus 130, $2.30. Peanuts, like $60. Again, I'm like playing every fight to enjoy with my friends. And then after she wins round one, I go to check live bet. She's minus 200. I'm like, that's a bit too steep for me. Then it goes up to $1.60, goes up to $1.70. I'm like, I'm playing this. I play a whole unit on Werner, $1.75. It's the same price before the fight started, and she's 1-0 up on rounds. She wins 2 and 3, 30-27. Thank you. I'll take it all day of the week. I'm in profit now. Dan Ige, I don't have anything on here. It's hard for me to trust Ige. After round two, he's paying almost $3. I'm like, this has to be 1-1 at worst. I put like peanuts, $100 on him. He wins by KO. I'm like, let's go. Decent profit now. We're rolling. Dominic Reyes, nothing here. This one was a little bit annoying. I put $50 on Dominic Reyes, round one KO. Krylov ends up being, Reyes, round one KO. I don't even want to know what round one KO was. Probably same price, similar price. So waste of $50. But worst of all, doesn't start round three was pick him on one of my books. Moral of the theme of this week is scared money makes no money, and not only does it make no money, you also lose money by being greedy and too careful. So, right. But then for this fight, Gene Silva, Bryce Mitchell, I said, you know what, F it, I'm going big. I've got to read here. I like both the Gene Silva money line at minus 200. I liked Gene Silva inside the distance. I didn't want to fall for the KO. The KO was only a couple of cents better than the under 2.5 rounds. It went up to almost pick him. I just played that. I played that. I'm like, is Bryce Mitchell going to be the first person to go to decision against Gene Silva? I don't think so. I don't like what I see from Bryce. I think this is a levels fight. And, halfway through the fight, I'm like, oh, man, Bryce is weaseling. He's weaseling. Maybe I made a mistake. Should have gone the money line. I would not be sweating. It's a clear 29-28. Luckily, he gets that choke. I make $400 and something. One full unit bet. The first full unit bet on the card cashes. So let's go. $700 and something up. All the mistakes are gone. Yeah, Rodriguez, Pitbull. I just did a little $70 live bet on Pitbull after round one. I thought he could have won it with the takedown. Horrible bet. Had a little parlay with Paddy Pimblett submission, like $20. Lost like $100 all up there. Props to anyone that played Paddy. Really, really good read. My friend told me weeks in advance when Paddy was picking. And just watching that tape with Chandler, I just couldn't do it. But it makes sense. You got to look outside the box. I didn't see it. And then I ended up playing half a unit on Diego Lopez at plus 150, 250, 150. Come on. It was pick him all week. Lopez slight dog, and now he's that much of an underdog. I had to take the poke, fading a 36-year-old Volkanovski, who I thought Lopez had all the finishing upside. I thought it would be a close fight. I kept it perfectly. I thought even if it extends, that his cardio is not that bad. I could see a 5-round competitive decision with moments. Diego could have easily had a moment in round 5. I agree with the scorecards. The only thing that was frustrating is the guy could not throw a jab. He just kept loading up and trying to counter Volkanovski. No adjustments, but he'll get better. Do I regret my bet? Not really. I'm in the zone where I'm locking in the bet and losing then rather than regretting the pass. Regretting the pass hurts more than anything. So I'm trying to switch my mentality. So I'm happy with that. 1,800 for the week, almost 4 units. All right, completely made up for my first loss of the month last week. It's good. Cracked over $2,000 profit for the year. Again, not much, but we're only getting started. I was 3,500 down halfway through February, so easy peasy. All right, as I said, it'll be a profitable year, and we keep on tracking. All right, I'm really excited about the regionals this week, and I've actually locked the UFC bet anyway, so we'll talk about that. Let's get into it. Let's get into this PFL, shall we? Brett Primus, Vincius Cerny, right? This is a lightweight tournament. And it's a short notice fight. Let me see what the odds are. I try to be more prepared for the other show later in the week, but this one, because it's early tease, I like to be a bit impromptu because I'm finding stuff out for the first time. Makes it more interesting for myself too, you know? All right, so Brett Primus is a massive favorite. I don't know if I agree with that. He's a bit old. I get that he's good, and this Cersei, I remember him from Contender Series. He's kind of dangerous, but he's done nothing with his career. Very padded record. And since Contender Series, very padded record too. He won in UAE Warriors against Inshallah. That's going to be his best win, hands down. I remember this Inshallah. I faded him against Ribeiro. Ian Brave. He's also a bum. I mean, I get why old mate Primus is the favorite. All right, let's move on. Khalid Murtazaev versus Nick Maximov. By the way, I should say this card looks horrible. Just a bunch of grinders and a bunch of boring middleweights from Bellator. Yeah, I think this is a light heavyweight tournament there. Murtazaev, massive grinder. Yeah, he's pretty boring. Nick Maximov, what do I have to say about him? He was also in the UFC. He was cut for being boring as shit. And what has he done since? He's on a 3-fight win streak, right? Bunch of decisions and a rear naked choke. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he hasn't changed his fight style. What's this line? Pick him? Wow. Murtazaev minus 200. That's interesting. This guy's very gassy, by the way. Very gassy. He's always been gassy. I bet him against Fabio Aguilar in Bellator. And I tell you what, I was sweating. That fight. Very inactive as well. All right, let's move on. I mean, I can't really make a good prediction. It's gonna be Nick Maximov a pass. He's younger, probably less gassy. All right, let's move on. Aaron Jeffrey, Murad Ramazanov. Now, I like Ramazanov at Pick'em just a couple of hours ago, but apparently this line has been touched nice and good. What is he now? Ramazanov, wow, almost minus 200. Makes sense. I think this should be a levels fight. Aaron Jeffrey, another grinder. What the hell does he do? And Murad is a really good grinder. I would say elite. What's Jeffrey done recently? Oh, that's right. Barely beat Douglas Lima. Lost to Fabian Edwards. Lost to Dalton Rossa. He's had some boring fights, this guy. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I like Muradov. I think Murad is the better fighter. You know, his losses to Shamil Musayev back-to-back mean absolutely nothing. I think he was knocked out by Robert Soldic as well. But that went to a no contest. Yeah, shame that I didn't lock this line earlier. Oh, well. Maybe Aaron can, I don't know, stuff the takedowns. Maybe. I don't know. I got not much to say. These are horrible fights. Clay Collard versus Alfie Davis. This should be all right. At least it's a striking fight. You know, Clay's going to bring it. Here we go, Pirate. Bryce was not weaseling. He was getting lit up. He was getting lit up, my friend, but he wasn't going to get knocked out. Right? It was quite clear that at worst, he was going to get dropped multiple times and get up. That's what I'm saying. Weaseling my under 2.5 rounds. That's why I was frustrated. If I played the money line, there would be no sweat. I would be cruising. But anyway, you live and you learn. That's one of the fights I had a good read on and Tulio. So from now on, I'm going to try empty the bankroll on the good reads. Anyway, back to this Collard, Alfie Davis. Let me see. You know, Collard's going to come forward. Alfie Davis is going to have a clean game. You know, sticky move, circle around the octagon. Davis, wow, Collard is the favorite. That is interesting. Collard is the favorite. He's more hittable. He's older, I'm pretty sure. 32. What's Alfie Davis? 33. Oh, wow. Well, I'll take that back. Alfie Davis just got finished by Monso Barnaoui. No shame in that. He's got some okay wins against Alon Cruz, Thibaut Guti, Oscar. Not really. None of those wins are good. Akon Van List kind of good. Team Wild, that was a draw, but he should have lost. Wild lost the point. Yeah. I mean, trusting Clay Collett as a favorite, but look at his record. Lost 4 of his last 5, only knocked out Awash Pitbull. He always gets grappled, but when you give him a striking fight, Stevie Ray, Shane Burgos beats the crap out of him. Beats the piss out of him. He really should have more knockouts on his... He should have knocked out Jeremy Stevens, should have knocked out this Japanese dude, should have knocked out Shane Burgos. But yeah, I mean, can Alfie Davis stick and move? First glance, this card seems tough for betting, but we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait till last minute. 60% of these fights are gonna fall off. Let's be honest, and we'll strike. We'll strike at the right time. Josh Silveira, Mike Shipman. Again, don't really like Mike Shipman. Another boring grinder. He knocked out Stephen Hill and Abdul Bassett in his last 2, so now he looks like a knockout striker. But they're both bums. Both chinny bums. He's chinny himself. Josh Silveira could probably finish him, honestly. Split to Rob Wilkinson and lost to Impa in a 5-rounder. He really should finish him. Let me see. How much of a favorite is he? $1.42. Not rushing to play that on Josh. And PFL is not really a parlay organization, in my opinion. Alrighty. Look at the other one that opens up. Matt Burnell, JJ Wilson. High-level fight, finally. Something that should be exciting to watch. I guess it should be pick'emish, right? I will give JJ slight favorite because Mads has dropped the ball many times. Finished by Michel Defort. Lost to Pedro Carvalho. I remember I live bet Carvalho there. And that was just minus 550 favorite. Such a bad performance. Lost to Adam Borix. Made no adjustments. Yeah, not the best fighter, honestly. He's known to drop the ball, but he's an underdog. So, JJ, what's JJ been up to? Only 27. So impressive. He beat Mansour Barnaoui. He hasn't fought in 2 years. All right, this kid needs to be a bit more active, in my opinion. Lost to Gadzi Radzabanov, but I remember that was a 29-28. He was very competitive. He was very aggressive with his ground game and his guard. Yeah. I'll take that one. That was probably the first one I'll take because at least it's interesting. 2 high-level fighters. Right. JJ and Burnell, I'll look into that one. Speaking of Gadzi, they're giving him Mark Diakese. Wow, this is probably going to be the most boring fight ever. I do not see Diakese implementing his grappling game plan on someone like Gadzi. He beat Tim Wild in his Bellator debut. He barely beat Caio Fernandez, right? I mean, I've been smashing, Gadzi as a parlay piece in every single PFL fight he's been in. He's probably safe here again. Let's move on. Dalton Rosta, Sadabu C. These 2 guys are bums. All right, C. What is C? Like 40 years old? What are you still doing fighting, man? You already won the million. 38 years old. Oh, that's right. He had that pathetic fight with Andrew Sanchez. Josh Silveira, thumb knockout. He did beat Carlos Lille, which is aging well. If you try to take him down, it's going to go bad for you. He will just stand up against the cage and then outstrike you, outjab you at distance, and he'll win a damage-based decision. I've been betting C for the longest time, and he just keeps doing that. Dalton Rosta, this guy, I faded this guy against Norbert Novenya Jr. Unfortunate to lose that. Very annoyed. He reminded me of Bogdanovic-Juric fight in Octagon FC. The winner holds the guy against the cage for 2 rounds, and then he almost gets finished in round 3, and you still lose. Had a massive flank job to Aaron Jeffrey. Just don't know what the hell that was. Trying to take him down for 15 minutes and losing. He looked good in all these other fights when Bellator was feeding him cans, but I don't know, man. This screams pass. He's 29 versus 38. What are the odds? Sadabusi is the favorite. See, look, I want to fade him because Dalton Rosta is a step up from Andrew Sanchez. But also Dalton Rosler is a flake and someone that I could see Sadabusi knocking out. That's where I'm at. Subhuman. Early tease. Hell yeah. Make him feel it. Alrighty, main event, Impa Kasagano, Fabian Edwards. I would say this is a high-level fight, if not for Fabian Edwards. He sticks up the joint every single time, just like his brother. Impa, coming back from that upset to Dolvet Yakshimuradov. It's a bit of a shame, but Impa's always been hittable. But he's an exciting fighter. His kill or be killed. Knocks out most guys. And Fabian Edwards, lost to Johnny Eblen. A lot more competitive the second time around than the first match. Beat Aaron Jeffrey. I mean, Impa should get it done. I don't think Fabian Edwards is a type of fighter that will fade Impa with a minus 200 again. This card, I know this card is a bit sooner than LFA and Cage Warriors, but I'm not going to rush to tape it. I think a lot of fights are going to fall off. Hopefully some lines move. But speaking of LFA and Cage Warriors, I'm not going to give it early tease because there's no odds. KSW next week. Might do some early tease for that. And Octagon. Alrighty, let's get to this card. It's why we're here, right? UFC Fight Night Kansas City. Now, this card is cinema. I haven't seen this many juiced favorites and parlay pieces since. It reminds me of that card where Alexander Hernandez knocked out Chris Grutzmacher in round 1. And I think Sean Strickland was fighting Jack Marshman. And there was just I had 17 parlays and a bunch of straight worse than minus 200 favorites, and they all covered. This is what this card reminds me of, right? And it's cinema. Best way to describe it, cinema. So hopefully I won't take too much time. Unfortunately, no props, no totals. But it is what it is. Damon Blackshear, Hali Alateng. Damon Blackshear just ran through Gibson. I had him via submission there. It was one of those obvious ones. The under was nice plus money too. Alateng, good wrestler. Not the best fighter. Just beat Clayton Rodriguez. He's never been submitted. Let's see. Trying to get a little read on the grappling here. Can Blackshear submit him? He's just never fought anyone that's a grappler like Blackshear. I don't even know if you could tape this properly. But I guess Blackshear should win, so there's that. Maybe Blackshear sub again, who knows. Chris Grutzmacher, John Castaneda. This fight was already booked. It was Pick'em. It's Pick'em again. I said I was leaning Castaneda, but I never had a chance to tape in depth because the fight fell off. So let's move on. Timmy Kwamba, Roberto Romero. I didn't realize this fight was on. Let me have a look at the odds. Let me have a look at the odds. You know what I'm disappointed in? No GFL. Man, I had this strong gut feeling that I was going to clean up on GFL odds if we got them. I know all the fighters well. I know how washed they are. It would have been some good underdog shots. Anyway, where are we at? Cool. Is that fight cancelled? There's no odds for... Probably cancelled. That's a shame because that seemed like a good fight. Kwamba versus Romero. Kwamba. Maybe it's new and there's no odds just yet. That's right. We won't talk about it. Seems like a barn burner. Robert Romero almost knocked out Onana in his short notice debut, so can we go wrong with that? Ahmed Hassanzada, Evan Elder. So I pretty much parlayed Elder. I just asked in my Discord who is the best parlay piece on this card, and the boy Pirate, who was in here, one comment up, said Evan Elder. It should be much shorter. So I parlayed him with someone. I know Hassanzada well. He's a bum. I thought it was absolutely hilarious when he got signed to the UFC. He's chinny. His wrestling sucks, and his jiu-jitsu is kind of okay. I guess his best win is Chase and Blair on Cage Warriors, which is a bit of a meme. And other than that, I don't know. He's improving. He's like 27, 29. Evan Elder really, should is a really well-rounded fighter. Arm triangle to Flowers, beat Valdez. Should have beat Nazim Sadikov if not for a cut. It's unfortunate. And then I lost to Preston Parsons, which very short notice, upper weight class. And he has a good win, Keegan Genrich, right? The ex-LFA champ that just lost to John Paul. And yeah, he rinsed him. Keegan's improved a little bit since, but he's all right. He's a good fighter. So I didn't even tape it, but my boy Pirate said he should be a bigger favorite. So I parlayed him with someone only for a unit and a half because Bet Online wouldn't let me get that more. So Matt Schnell, Jimmy Flick, absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Old mate Flick has already taken some action. It makes perfect sense, right? They're giving Jimmy Flick a guy that whenever he gets caught in a submission or even a guillotine, he taps with both his arms. Instead of defending the chokes, he taps with both arms. Last time I was $2,000 down on 2 bets, Zoo and another bet. I ended up chasing with Cody Dirt in round 2 sub. Perfect read. When that ninja choke hit, it was beautiful. Got me over 2K profit. So I know these guys well. If Jimmy Flick is going to submit anyone, it's going to be Matt Schnell. I mean, the guy, on top of being chinny, is also easy to sub. So yeah. The Brandon Royval sub came easy. The Pantoja overhand right. He's been subbed by Tim Elliott, really easy. That was the fight that I noticed his guillotine defense. Right, so it's a dog or pass. The under is going to be great value. Maybe it will be better than we expect because Jimmy Flick was carried over to a decision by Nate Maness. Who knows? But no brainer. This fight probably goes under. This is one of my short videos I made for a free bet. Jimmy Flick by sub versus Malcolm Gordon. I was paying great. For some reason, Malcolm Gordon was the favorite there. All right, let's move on. Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. What a fight. Edwards $1.44. I mean, I think she was that kind of price recently against Vidal, and she covered Tamaras Vidal. So I guess props to people. Chelsea Chandler is just awful. Just lost to Yana Santos recently. Wow, I can't believe she's 2-2 in the UFC. I thought she was really close to being cut. But she can't make weight. 2 weight misses in a row. Yeah, whatever. Horrible fight. Cameron Simon, Malcolm Wellmaker. This is one that's interesting. Wellmaker as a favorite. I remember taping him for Contender Series and thinking he's not that great. He's a really bad minute winner. He might be a little bit green, although he has the touch of death with his hands. Cameron Simon, is he really... I used to think he was a durable fighter, but he's taken a lot of damage recently. Killed by Peyton Talbot. Showed that he was durable. He's hittable. So, yeah, Cameron's probably... My boy Evan, he addressed this. He said, Simon interests me. Evan lost a bit of money. Fading Wellmaker in Contender Series. I just think... I did think he's not a good minute winner, but Wellmaker KO was quite a good price, so I just played that instead at plus money. But he was losing that fight on minutes. So yeah, I think this is going to be minutes versus moments. But Cameron can probably get moments too. So this is what I'm going to tape. Closely lined fight. Speaking of not closely lined fights, Jacqueline Amorim versus Poliana Viana. I mean, this is the fight I parlayed with Evan Elder. Jacqueline Amorim, I mean, Poliana Viana, one of the easiest matchups you could get. Right, she's going to take her down and submit her. What else could possibly happen? She's done it to better fighters, in my opinion. Corey McKenna, Vanessa Demopoulos. She should have done it to Sam Hughes in round 1. Some people saying that Sam Hughes cheated, grabbed the fingers, grabbed the whatever. So yeah, she should be able to do that. Poliana Viana has been submitted a bunch of times. Jillian Roberts, ground strikes. Yasmin Lucindo, Tabitha Ricci, beat her, but kind of competitive. Yeah, what is she going to do? Is she going to submit Amorim from her back? Should be levels on the ground. I mean, even Veronica Hardy submitted her. So, yeah, don't overthink it. They've kind of given her... It kind of seems like they're trying to get rid of Viana. Right, Lucindo. Then Jillian Roberts. than Amarim. She's getting all these. She's on a 2-fight winning streak, and they keep giving her better and better girls that are on streaks. So yeah, don't overthink it. The under 1.5 rounds should be good. Randy Brown, Nicholas Dalby, my favorite washed welterweight fight. I hate these kind of fights. Hate the welterweight division. Matt Brown minus 200 against Nicholas Dalby, who's still got some juice in the tank. Forget it. Forget it. Let me wiki cap a little bit. He lost the split to Brian Battle, right? Zaleski fight, Salika fight, whatever. Turman fight, whatever. Nicholas Dalby can probably do what Wellington Turman did, but a bit better. He almost beat Renat Fakhreddinov at his own game. Dog a pass. Don't overthink it. Ikram Aliscaro, $1.17 favorite. Speaking of one man that I would not parlay, I guess he can knock out Andre Muniz. Andre Muniz has been knocked out a bunch, and he's probably gonna struggle to grapple someone like Ikram, a Dagestani wrestler. Right. Under 1.5 rounds, probably going to be minus 200, if not worse. If not worse. Could Ikram get subbed? Probably not, let's be honest. He might be chinny though. Giga Chikadze, David Onama. Onama was a bit better. Now he's minus 200. I don't know. I hate Giga. Never Giga Chikadze for me. Since the day that he entered in the UFC, I hated him. Just looks like he has no chin. Just like his face has been squished. The bottom part of his face has been squished. He lost to Arnold Allen. I think that was kind of competitive, right? And he won a competitive fight to Alex Caceres until Alex broke his arm. Losing to Qatar in 2022. Yeah, it's Onama. Can you knock him out? I don't know. He's really durable. Onama lost to no one really. Won 3 in a row. Impressive. I bet him against Pierce, but Romero fight didn't really touch, but he almost got knocked out there. Yeah, Onama's got a weird chin. He gets hurt in every single fight, but he's actually durable. Alrighty. Michel Pereira, Abus Magomedov. My lean here is that Michel Pereira probably runs through Abus. I think he's chinny. We've seen it a few times. And, he's got a win over Hulk, which is going to age quite well. Ferreira, I should say. Bruno Ferreira. And Vali Alves, which look like shit. But I think Pereira really... people think you can take Pereira down, but I think Pereira has good takedown defense. Obviously, Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy, complete different story in terms of pressure. But, yeah, Pereira at middleweight hits different, man. I think he should run through a boost. $1.60 favorite. Just go the under. Go the under. Speaking of going the unders, Anthony Smith, Mingyang Zhang. All right. Happy retirement, Anthony Smith. He's a young prospect with knockout power. I have no complaints, Anthony Smith is the worst. Hopefully he gets a round 1 knockout. I was on Zhang round 1 in his last 2 fights, Ozzy Diaz and Ribeiro. I don't know how I feel about Smith. Yeah, Smith is, say what you will, he is a bit of a pansy, but he has no quit. That's false, my bad. He quits, but he just turtles up long enough in there to kill all the unders, right? He made Dominic Reyes almost go to round 3. He stopped trying like 3 minutes into round 1. Khalil Jr. went into round 3. Beat Vitor Petrino, didn't get knocked out. Ryan Spann didn't get knocked out in both fights. So Zhang, just how hard does Zhang hit? Can he be the man to put out Smith early? I feel like the under is going to be juiced and it's not going to be worth it in this fight. But also Zhang has been knocked out or finished in every single fight early as well. Right, so this is poised for Smith to do some tomfoolery. Right, he lost to bloody Askar Morozov, the fraud. Round 1 rear naked choke, round 1 KO, round 2 KO loss, round 1 KO loss, round 2 guillotine choke. I know he was young, but still happened. All right, let's move on. And the main event, finally a fight worthy of a main event. Let me address this comment first. Nate Brown, thanks for listening, my friend. I think Malcolm is better than Peyton Talbot. I don't know about that, man. Nothing I've seen on tape tells me that Wellmaker is better than Peyton Talbot. I think there's a bit of a levels situation there. I could be wrong. Yeah, maybe not the craziest thing you've said. Ian Machado, Gary, Carlos Prates. Look, the first thing I'm noticing, and I know these guys quite well, I've been on Prates in one sense or another in every single fight in the UFC, including the Contender Series, and I think he's the side. I think there's some similarities. Shavkat tried to strike with Ian. I don't think Shavkat's striking is as good, and obviously his defense is not as good. Ian Gary is very hittable, very hittable. I think the Michael Page fight, he basically won on the last minute sequencing in round 3. It was 1-1 and he was losing round 3. I think the Jeff Mills split decision, I faded him there. Very unlucky, very lucky to win that one too. Jeff Neal, really silly not to let his hands go a bit more. Like the chin was right there to be hit. And I was fighting Prates, who has the touch of death. Now, the only argument I'm hearing is, Ian could grapple him here. And I get it. And the other one is, Trevor Giles kind of styling on him early while he was getting his reads. Yeah, but Trevor Giles very explosive, very fast. And you can say Ian Gary, he's a very technical striker himself. He might have more volume. But yeah, I mean, the touch of death, man. All these guys that have dropped and hit Machado clean, it's probably going to be different when Prates does it to him. So it's Prates all day. The line seems to be trending towards Gary. I think there's going to be some recency bias with that result with Shavkat, how he almost beat Shavkat. But Shavkat looked like he had a terminal illness, and he still beat him. Just worst game plan I've ever seen in my life, and he still beat him. So, yeah, Prates surpassed for me. So, power through this card. What can I say? It's a freaking juiced parlay card with females as well on top of it. So, I mean, Damon, pass. A Kwamba fight, I'm not sure if it's happening. I have Evan Elder parlay with Jacqueline. Jimmy Flick, pass, easy. Probably sub. You can't go wrong with Jimmy Flick sub. Edwards or Chandler, who the hell knows. Cameron Simon, Wellmaker, probably the best fight to take first. Randy Brown, Darby or pass. Ali Skarov, probably going to be juicy under 1.5. Giga on an arm, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll lean on armor, but we'll see. Pereira, I think he runs through him. Zhang, I mean, I'm never ever going to play Anthony Smith. And Prates or pass, that's it. We'll see what I do at the end of the week. I'll see what kind of regional show I'll put out, probably a PFL. Other than that, like and subscribe. The early tease for 2 weeks UFC has done, and we'll figure out what to do next week. I might do some sort of other early tease. Peace out. Like and subscribe.